Imagine your money had a leak. Every night while you sleep, a little bit of its value quietly evaporates. Not because you spent it, not because you were robbed, at least not in the classical sense, but because the money itself is dying. For most people watching this video, that sounds like a strange thought experiment. For hundreds of millions of people, it is just Tuesday. In Venezuela, Lebanon, Zimbabwe, Argentina, and a growing list of countries, entire national currencies have melted like ice cream in the sun. And in the middle of these collapses, something unexpected happened. Ordinary people, and then entire governments, started moving their savings into a strange internet money with no army, no president, and no printing press. This is the story of why the world's most broken economies are betting on Bitcoin. To understand the bet, we first need to watch a currency die. Money at its core is a promise. The promise that the paper in your pocket will buy roughly the same amount of bread tomorrow as it does today. Governments keep this promise by controlling how much money exists. But here's the catch. Printing money is the political equivalent of painkillers. A government in trouble, facing war, debt, or collapsing industries, can simply create more money to pay its bills. A little of this is survivable. A lot of it starts a death spiral. More money chasing the same amount of bread means prices rise. Rising prices mean the government's own bills get bigger, so it prints even more. People see their savings shrinking and rush to spend money the moment they get it, which pushes prices up further. Venezuela's inflation peaked, by some estimates, at over 1,000,000% a year. In Zimbabwe in 2008, prices doubled roughly every single day, and the central bank printed a $100 trillion bill, which today is worth a few actual dollars, as a collector's item. And when desperate governments then freeze bank accounts to stop the bleeding, as Lebanon did after 2019, people discover the fine print of modern money. The number in your banking app is not, strictly speaking, yours. It is a promise from an institution that may stop picking up the phone. Some Lebanese depositors became so desperate that they staged holdups at their own banks, not to steal, but to withdraw their own savings. None of this is new, and neither is the response. When money dies, people flee to anything that holds value. Stable foreign currencies, usually the US dollar, gold, real estate, even washing machines and bricks, anything that can't be printed. Argentines have famously stuffed savings into physical dollars for decades, hiding them in mattresses, walls, and freezers. But the old lifeboats have old problems. Dollars must be physically acquired, often illegally, smuggled and hidden, and they can be confiscated at a border or banned overnight. Gold is heavy, hard to verify, hard to divide, and even harder to run with. And a washing machine, whatever its merits, makes a terrible way to send money to your family abroad. For most of history, that was the entire menu. If your country's money collapsed, your wealth was trapped with you. Physical, visible, seizable. What changed in 2009 is that, for the first time ever, a new kind of exit appeared. One that fits in your head. Bitcoin is money with three properties that sound boring in a stable country and sound like science fiction in a collapsing one. First, nobody can print more of it. Its supply is capped at 21 million coins by rules enforced not by a government's promise, but by tens of thousands of independent computers around the world checking each other constantly. There is no lever labeled more. There isn't even a room to put the lever in. Second, nobody can freeze it or take it remotely. Your coins are controlled by a secret key, and that key can be written on paper, stored on a chip, or memorized. 12 ordinary words in the right order, which means, for the first time in human history, a refugee can cross a border carrying their life savings entirely inside their own mind. Third, it goes anywhere the internet goes. Sending value from Caracas to Madrid takes minutes, and requires permission from absolutely no one. Rich, stable countries looked at this and saw a casino. Collapsing countries looked at it and saw a door. Speaking of things nobody can take from you. In this entire video, exactly one asset can't be printed, frozen, or confiscated at a border. And it's the subscribe button. It costs nothing. It travels with you. And unlike every currency in this episode, it has never once collapsed. The bell is right there. Here's the pattern almost everyone gets backwards. Crypto adoption in crisis countries didn't start with governments, and it didn't start with speculation. It started with survival, from the bottom up. In Venezuela, people mined and traded Bitcoin to preserve grocery money. In Nigeria, which consistently ranks among the world leaders in peer-to-peer crypto use, young people adopted it when the naira stumbled and the banking system shut them out. And usage kept growing even while their government tried to restrict it, before eventually reversing course. In Argentina, generations trained by inflation skipped the lecture entirely. Many opted for digital dollars, stablecoins, with Bitcoin as the longer-term vault. And across all of these countries runs one quiet superpower: remittances. Money sent home by relatives abroad is a lifeline for entire economies, and traditional transfer services can swallow painful fees and take days. Crypto rails collapsed that to minutes. Politicians didn't invent this trend. They looked down and noticed their citizens were already voting, wallet by wallet, for a different kind of money. In 2021, El Salvador made Bitcoin legal tender, the first country ever. The logic was textbook desperation economics. A small nation with no currency of its own, fully dollarized, where remittances make up over a fifth of the entire economy, and most citizens lacked bank accounts. The results? Genuinely mixed, and we owe you the honest version. Everyday adoption stayed low. The government's wallet app stumbled at launch, and in late 2024, as part of a deal with the International Monetary Fund, the law was softened so that accepting Bitcoin became voluntary. And yet the country kept buying, accumulating thousands of coins that have so far appreciated substantially. One experiment, two true stories, depending on where you stop reading. Others wrote different lessons. The Central African Republic copied the legal tender move in 2022 with almost no internet infrastructure to support it and quietly repealed it within a year. You cannot legislate adoption into existence. Bhutan said almost nothing and simply started mining Bitcoin with its surplus hydropower, accumulating a national stash worth a meaningful slice of its economy. And then the plot twist. In 2025, the United States, issuer of the very dollar everyone flees to, established a strategic Bitcoin reserve of its own. When the world's most fragile economies, and its strongest one, start holding the same asset for a rainy day, something is happening to the definition of rainy day. So why do collapsing countries move first? Because innovation adoption isn't driven by intelligence. It's driven by pain. If your money works, Bitcoin solves a problem you don't have with volatility you don't want. If your money is actively dissolving, volatility stops being a deal breaker because the thing you're comparing it to is guaranteed to go to zero. Economists call this leapfrogging. Countries that never built the old infrastructure jump straight to the new one, the way much of Africa skipped landlines and went directly to mobile phones, then skipped banks and went directly to mobile money. A collapsing currency, a young population, smartphones everywhere, and millions of unbanked citizens isn't just a tragedy. It is, accidentally, the perfect laboratory for reinventing money. Now the part a thumbnail won't tell you. Bitcoin did not save these economies. A lifeboat is not a rescue ship. It preserves what you carry. It does not rebuild your house. Its price can drop by half within months, brutal for a family with no cushion. It demands smartphones, electricity, and knowledge that the poorest often lack. And where desperation goes, scammers follow. Many people in crisis economies don't even choose Bitcoin. They choose stablecoins, digital dollars, trading one government's promise for a stronger government's promise. And none of it fixes the actual disease: corruption, broken institutions, bad governance. Money you cannot print does not magically produce leaders you can trust. Anyone selling Bitcoin as a cure for national collapse is selling something. Zoom out far enough, and this isn't really a story about Bitcoin. It's a story about a 5,000-year-old technology called trust and what happens when it breaks. Every form of money in history was an answer to the question, what can we believe in together? Shells, gold, kings, governments. And when one answer failed, humans, being humans, built another. What's genuinely new is that for the first time, the people losing the game can reach for an alternative no ruler controls, and their desperation is quietly stress testing the money of the future for everyone else. The world's most broken places have become its laboratory. And whatever you think of the experiment, the result will belong to all of us, because the most powerful force in economics was never the printing press. It was always the exit door. So here's our question for the comments. If your money started melting tomorrow, what would you put your savings into? Be honest. And if you want to know what happens to the whole world if this experiment fully succeeds, watch what a $1 million Bitcoin would actually do. Right here, the ducks will wait. They're good at that now.